What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to break down what the news, data, and technicals are telling us about the overall market and also for Tesla, what Cathie would just that did actually help Tesla going forward, and how the market may move going into next week alongside Tesla. But before I break anything down about this, before I get into any more details about how Tesla may actually move early next week, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $3,000. And the best part is, any could be a free Tesla share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 3 days. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. Tesla was up 1.28% for the day today, getting quite a nice bounce off this 160 area. And this is actually almost exactly what I predicted. Now, when it came to earnings, I just want to remind you guys that earnings were not good for Tesla overall. There were some sectors which actually were pretty awesome, such as the fact that the energy sector did increase by over 148% in revenue compared to the previous year. But net income was not good. Their margins were not good. And also, other things were not as great for them. They did actually burn a lot of cash, but EPS was just okay, very close to expectations, and then revenue was actually a little bit better. So I would say, just to be clear, Tesla's earnings was more bad than good. It was quite mixed, but also more bad, right? But was it bad enough to cause a 10% crash in the share price? In my opinion, not necessarily. I think that was an overreaction, and Tesla became very oversold when this happened. Now, on Wednesday, after Tesla released its earnings, I told you guys right here we're expecting a huge move for Thursday. And I told you guys that Tesla would likely sell off on Thursday. I told you guys to watch 163. If that failed, there's 160, then 158 for Tesla. And Tesla ended up bouncing off 160, right? And we actually held 160 and closed very, very low yesterday. That was Thursday. And then yesterday came, and then I released a video and said Tesla would likely drop and then get a very, very nice bounce. And I expected Tesla to actually continue to push up. Now, the reason I said this yesterday was because of the fact that we had some very bullish looking signals. And also, Tesla was way too oversold and we were due for a very nice bounce. And what ended up happening was, yes, we got the bounce, but this wasn't just because of technicals. Technicals did suggest this initially, and the technicals happened to align with some very bullish news, as Cathie would have been buying Tesla like crazy. She also gave a new Tesla price target, and also Tesla announced some more bullish news when it comes to the way they're pricing their cars. I will talk about that stuff in a couple of minutes, but I want to just note that we did get a bounce as I predicted. Tesla held 160. I told you guys it would likely drop then bounce. We got a drop to about 161 in the morning. Then we got a nice bounce from there, rallying to about 166 for a pretty nice green day. Not too significant though. But overall, a green day is a green day, and it did bounce. And now I'm seeing a bullish continuation likely continuing into early next week. But I want to note something, and that is the fact that, yes, Tesla will likely try to push up more early next week, but then it becomes harder to predict for the middle of the week, maybe the later days of the week, because of the fact that we have so many earnings coming out. We have big tech earnings coming out, and this is also going to affect the whole market, including Tesla. Now, for Monday, we have Coca-Cola, we have the Bank of Hawaii, Credit Suisse, not to mention First Republic Bank and many other big companies for Monday. Not as significant though as Tuesday through Thursday. For Tuesday, we have Microsoft, Alphabet, Visa, McDonald's, Chipotle, and many other ones. So lots of big ones for Tuesday, especially Microsoft and Alphabet, aka Google. And remember, Microsoft and Alphabet are reporting earnings after the market closes, so expect a big reaction for Wednesday. Wednesday is when we're going to get the big reaction to them. Then we have Boeing, Hilton, Meta, and Roku, and etc. for Wednesday. After the market closes, please remember that that's when Meta reports its earnings alongside Roku. This will affect the market more on Thursday. And then for Thursday, when Thursday comes, we're going to be having, like Crocs and MasterCard, some small ones like that, Pinterest, and then the big giants, Intel, and finally Amazon, the big dog Amazon. Amazon's going to be huge for the stock market. Make sure you're ready for this Thursday after the market closes. And I am expecting another very big move after for Amazon and also the markets. The market's going to have a big reaction on Friday to what Amazon reports, so make sure you're ready for that too. I'm personally not going to be holding too many stocks overnight over and over again, maybe some here and there, but I'm going to be securing profits on most nights because I really don't like to hold before these big earnings. They could be very difficult to predict, and I'm going to be very careful. Now, that would be one of the plans for very short dated options, but for very long dated ones, I mean, you could still hold them through this. I just want to note that we have to be very cautious, and this will affect Tesla. Not financial advice, by the way. And also, guys, we have big data coming out as well. For Monday, nothing too big. For Tuesday, we have some housing data that's coming out and also crude oil data. Wednesday, we have mortgage data coming out and more crude oil data. Once again, not too significant though, but Thursday and Friday will be more significant because we have initial jobless claims coming out and also some GDP numbers. And then for Friday, we have PCE data coming out, which is going to be very important because it does affect the Fed's policies. So for data, the bigger days are going to be Thursday and Friday, and also Wednesday is going to be a little bit significant, but bigger days Thursday and Friday. Now let's talk about Tesla. What the heck just happened to Tesla? Why did Tesla bounce the way it did? Well, what's very interesting about this is I was telling you guys that there are quite a few technicals telling us Tesla would likely bounce. But what's weird about that and very interesting is how the data and the charts were telling us Tesla would bounce, and then the news happens to just come out afterwards, and it all becomes bullish. So is it a coincidence? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But it really was very interesting to witness that. Why did Tesla actually get more fuel? The first thing was, excuse me, Cathie Wood came out and she bought $42 million worth of Tesla stock. She bought the dip, and then she also said that she expects Tesla to hit $2,000 a share within 5 years. I'm going to make another video about this, but I just want to note that's very, very bullish news. She's extremely bullish. And that is more than a 10x in Tesla's share price in just a couple of years. As she bought into Tesla, she did also mention the fact that this happened after her expectations, and she did mention the fact that there are going to be many bullish catalysts for Tesla to help its overall market cap rise to over $6 trillion in just a couple of years. And that was actually the projection for, I believe it was initially 2027. Uh, I think it was supposed to be 2026, but they changed it to 2027. But anyways, it does not really matter. It's still a very bullish projection, and they actually have a total of a purchase of 255,000 Tesla shares, about $42 million in total. Very, very interesting stuff. Now, on top of all of this, I just want to note that Tesla made another big announcement, which was technically bullish. Tesla is going to be increasing the prices of the Model S and the Model X, but they're going to be adding 3 years of free supercharging. So that's once again awesome news overall. I don't know how this would actually trade off in a way, but I do believe that this is what a lot of investors wanted, because if Tesla keeps cutting prices, it tells investors that demand is slowing down and Tesla's margins are going to get worse. And that in turn is going to lead to more concerns for bigger investors. However, now that Tesla's raising some prices, this is telling us that maybe demand is starting to spur up to some degree, and this does make more investors happier. But when it comes to the data, Tesla actually is seeing a bit of a drop in inventory levels now. We saw about just over 600 in inventories, and it actually dropped to around the 400s. So once again, a bit of a decrease, and we are seeing more Tesla cars being bought. Ever since they announced the price cuts the sixth time for the year, we started to see this drop. They did announce some price increases, so we'll see how this reacts going into next week. But for now, I want to see this continue to drop. We want to see more and more of these sales, more deliveries, which is bullish for Tesla as well. Now, looking at some more specific pieces of data, Tesla actually has about 123 million in volume for the day. Once again, very, very awesome, because we had very high volume yesterday, but Tesla was crashing on high volume. That was not a good sign. That was a sign of capitulation. And now the volume has actually slowed down, and we're actually getting some healthy buying pressure back in the opposite direction. This means that the short volume is likely going to decrease, and you could see right here, if this is up to date, it has actually decreased a bit. It's likely going to continue to drop once the data comes out for today. That's exactly what we want to see. Tesla has a relatively low price pairs ratio, but it's likely going to try to bounce around here again as Tesla is still starting to show some strength. And compared to the market, Tesla did actually underperform for the last couple of days, but I'm looking for a small bounce when the data comes out for today, which tells us Tesla is gaining some relative strength. Now, when it comes to some important data, we have a new update from many analysts. Right here, this is Truce Securities. They're actually saying to hold on to your Tesla shares. Barclays is bullish on Tesla. Tudor Pickering, I know I'm not sure if I said that right, but that's a pretty funny name. They're saying sell your Tesla shares. Deutsche Bank is saying buy your Tesla shares. Wells Fargo is saying Tesla's going to perform equally with the markets. Wedbush is saying Tesla's going to outperform the markets. TD Cowen is bullish on Tesla. And most of these are actually either neutral or bullish. There are a lot more ratings coming out that are bullish for Tesla, though. That's very interesting. Some are saying hold, some are saying sell, some are saying it's going to perform equally, but most are saying buy into Tesla again. So once again, turning quite bullish, at least for the short term. Tesla tends to be green 53% of the time on Mondays. Once again, good news. And I'm not really getting an update from the short interest just yet. This will come out a little bit later. But for now, it didn't really spike up like crazy so far. It still is a little bit low compared to periods like this, which tells me that Tesla might not straight up crash for the super short term. We might actually continue to bounce and push up, and we could get a crash on Tesla, to fill those gaps below later on. Maybe in a couple of months it could happen, but for now I don't really think it's going to happen that way. Now let's talk about the charts. I mentioned to you guys that there's a good chance that because of how many puts were expiring, the market's going to likely either hold up or continue to push. Then I actually had my extended hours open, and I actually drew out this channel on SPY that's very important to note. So right here, SPY has this channel, all right, just like this. And we were actually just going back and forth between these support and resistance levels. And I told you guys we're going to likely see this thing approach the upper trend line, maybe try to break it if the market makers are able to squeeze shorts that hard. But if anything, they weren't able to push us that hard. We kind of chopped around for the majority of the day, but we did close green on SPY, which is what I predicted. And what basically happened was because max pain was around 405, the market makers did not have to actually pump the markets extremely hard to destroy shorts. Shorts still got destroyed nonetheless. So it's very interesting to see this happen as I predicted, and we will see how this actually changes going into next week. Now, I also want to note that SPY technically still has a bearish divergence developing. It's developing, that's the key word. There's no guarantee it's about to crash yet, but I'm seeing two possibilities. The first possibility is maybe we continue to chop around a bit and then we just straight up start downtrending. This could happen off big tech earnings. It's a real possibility. The second possibility is the market might actually try to push up one more time. You could actually interpret this as a potential bull flag. There's no confirmation of it just yet. It's just a possibility. We could get one more push to this 418 to 420 area, and then we start to downturn as we approach May. As the FOMC meeting comes, as inflationary data comes out, and etc. Maybe May is when we start to see more downside for the markets. But we're either going to just chop around and then start downtrending maybe later into next week, or we see the market push up a little more and then we downtrend later on. It's got to be one of those two most likely. That's what this divergence is suggesting. And I find that very likely so far. We just don't have enough confirmation to make that claim. And we're still kind of stuck in this channel. We're just stuck right now. Not a whole lot is going on. So we just need more data to make more decisive decisions. But for now, just watch the chart carefully and we'll see how this actually moves. Looking at the QQQ, this thing is also very similar to SPY. It's actually downtrending in a channel, trading sideways. But if Tesla does actually continue to pump more, this could actually help the QQQ hold up quite nicely. Tesla was pumping the QQQ today. It played a big role in that happening. But we are starting to see a lot of tech stocks weaken a bit. So very mixed data so far. We're going to be seeing what big tech earnings bring us. If big tech earnings are very bullish, we could see the QQQ try to push up more. If not, this thing could start to downtrend. What do I see happening? Two possibilities, just like SPY. We're either going to see this thing just as it's losing momentum right now. It's either going to just start downtrending, or we get another bounce and we just try to hold up for a while, push it up a little more, then we start to downtrend more around May. It's got to be one of those two most likely. The VIX is saying the same thing. The VIX did something very interesting. I think it's on the daily I'm supposed to use, either the daily or the hourly. Actually, it's supposed to be the hourly. Sorry about that. But anyways, the VIX basically has been downtrending, right? It's just dropping, 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 dropping. Notice how the VIX would hit this yellow line, which is the 50 EMA. It just rejects off of it or gets very close to it. That's what's been happening, right? And very recently, there was an attempt to break out by the VIX and it failed again. We got above the 50 EMA, then we failed again. So there are two possibilities for the VIX and how it's actually going to be affected by the markets. Number one, this thing just continues to downtrend more before it bouncing later on into May. And that would mean the market could pump a little bit more. Number two is this thing might make an attempt to try to hold 16 and just start breaking out very soon. I don't know if big tech earnings are going to cause a big downturn in the markets. If that's the case, the VIX could break out. So two possibilities the VIX is basically suggesting. Number one, the market's either about to downturn, or the market, which is number two. Number two, the market might push up more and then we start downtrending. It's got to be one of those two. Most likely that's what the VIX is telling us. The MACD is not looking the strongest, and we don't have any divergences. It's just that it's just now kind of shopping around, so we just have to wait and see what it does. But for Apple, it's showing some weakness. It could pull back a little bit more before trying to bounce off this 163.5 area. But overall, the technicals are not looking that strong for it. We have been respecting a bit of an uptrend here, whereas the RSI has been actually downtrending a bit. So this is telling me that we could actually see Apple try to bounce a little bit. It might come down a little more and then try to get a bounce. But then again, it all depends on tech earnings. Could it be forming a head and shoulders? That's also another possibility where it comes down here and gets one more bounce and then just continues to downtrend. Apple also has earnings, I think next week or very, very soon. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. Finally, before I talk about Tesla, the 10-year Treasury yield. If this thing continues to push up to fill this gap, this could actually lead to some downward pressure for the markets. But if we have like a head and shoulders developing, then it could actually come down one more time. And if it does come down, that's suggesting that the market could actually get another pump. So far, it's looking like the market's going to actually drop a little bit on Monday, just a tiny bit if this does fill the gap. If it rejects and forms a head and shoulders, then once again, the market could get one more pump. And then we start to downtrend later on into May. As we approach like May, maybe a little bit into it, that's when the real downtrend starts. It's really just a matter of time. It's just very hard to predict exactly how it's going to happen. But anyways, I don't want to talk too much about May or like the next week and a half. Let's just talk about the next few trading days for Tesla. What am I seeing? I could use a bunch of different time frames for this. If we just ignore the current levels, the next major level to look at Tesla is going to be 168, then 170 to 172.5. Just remember those numbers. I'm going to actually hide my drawings right now. But what's very important about this is I just want to look at what the chart is telling us so far, right? We had this big drop right here, but Tesla did form this bullish divergence. And then after doing so, Tesla actually managed to get a nice bounce on the, let me see, on the extended hours time frame. If we actually use it that way, looking at the RSI, Tesla, once again, right here, had a very nice uptrend that was developing in the RSI. So notice how the price was just tanking, but the RSI was actually pushing up. This was forming a bullish divergence. Tesla has been pumping up since. Now on the extended hours, we actually got a crossover on the PPO, which showed some bullish momentum early, very, very early on during the day. And this did actually continue going forward. So once again, it still looks more bullish. There's no confirmation of it actually downtrending. On the 4-hour time frame, check this out. We can actually zoom out and just look at this trend. As you can see, when we tend to get these crossovers on the MACD, we tend to see the share price push up as momentum increases. Crossover down, Tesla tends to drop. You know, it goes up, it goes down with the crossovers. And right here, just notice what the chart is doing. Basically, we were dropping pretty hard, but as Tesla started to hit support around 163, 160, and etc., the bearish momentum is weakening. You could see it right here on the MACD. And then on top of that, I think there was a divergence that formed. Actually, we didn't form a divergence on here, but we did see bearish momentum weakening, and we're getting very close to a crossover on the PPO. And that tells me that we're most likely going to see Tesla try to push up more. early next week, it's most likely going to try to get to 170. The odds heavily favor that, and I am pretty convicted that that's most likely going to happen. But I don't want to go into too many details about what I predict. I'm going to save that for Sunday. Once again, I do believe we should get to at least 170 very, very soon. We might pull back a little bit in the morning thanks to what the 10-year Treasury yield is telling us. It could pull back a little bit and then try to continue and try to get to that 170. And if Tesla does continue, it's going to help the QQQ and also SPY. Now, please note that this will likely happen for just the first couple of trading days. I am not as certain about how Tuesday after the market closes, Wednesday and Thursday are going to go. They're going to depend heavily on the big tech earnings. That's going to be very impactful for the entire market. This will affect Tesla as well, and make sure you are prepared for this just in case. But as far as Tesla goes, as of right now, it looks like it's reversing and wants to start pushing up. It was uh, a bit of an overreaction to see Tesla drop so hard in such a short period of time. I do believe it's going to try to push up, so make sure you're ready for that. And once again, I do believe it's going to break at least past 170 early next week, and there is a lot of opportunity in that. Now, the last thing I want to say is I have some merch for you guys if you want to buy a cap or a really nice shirt or a hoodie or a tank top. If you use the code SAVE5, you're going to save 5% on your order. It's actually down below, either above or below the comment section. That's where the link is to this shop. It's your choice if you're interested in getting something or not. If not, completely fine with me. But anyways, thank you all so much for listening. Enjoy your weekend, and let's celebrate because Cathie Wood has been buying Tesla, and this is helping the share price. Once again, very, very awesome news for the short term, just temporarily. And with that said, Tesla to the moon. The long term is still very, very bright. And peace out.